Welcome to the Chorus and the Chaos podcast. After hours, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Dave Ramsey?
It's Dave Ramsey. Big fan. He's a big fan. Hello and welcome to the Chorus and the Chaos podcast. My name is Jack, and I am, of course, joined by Blake, Grayson, and a alternative intro. First time we've played that, but it is a intro for such an occasion as this. We are doing a roundtable episode. We behind the scenes, behind the cameras, just us. There's no one else here, but we call it the after hours because we don't have a script. We typically, not that we have scripting, we have an outline. We have a couple things that we might want to just talk about, but this is more off the cuff than we would typically do. It's just us talking about the things that we want to talk about.
Yep.
There's also a live reaction of Blake's face as he saw that for the very first time today.
Yes. Grayson and I knew that was coming. Blake did not.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I want to know how we had room in the budget to have Dave Ramsey be in our opening video, listening to our podcast.
He's a big fan. He's a big fan. Yeah.
He did it for free. He did it for free.
Yeah.
He saw the meme that you and I made this last week.
Yeah.
The connection between him and Gordon Ramsay and
the Gordon
Ramsay.
Back to back Dave Ramsey memes was off,
Yeah, it's
that was the chorus in the chaos there.
I like the one guy that corrected it. He goes, it's Ramsey's, and you're like, Thank you.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't even say that.
Okay.
Was that Mr. Jack? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll take the meme down.
Yeah.
Actually, it's Ramses. And then there's a lot of debate surrounding whether Ramses wasn't actually the pharaoh, because that was something else that broke off into the comments. So
right, was it his real name or did
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Were they using English letters? Yeah,
I think they were. That I don't actually, but anyway, welcome. You're here. You're here. Right. Thank you for listening. As per usual, we hope you guys subscribe, follow, like, comment, share, all the things. Leave us a 5-star review. Those really help other people find the podcast. We will be back next time with the 9th commandment, and then following that, the 10th commandment. And then I don't know what kind of break we'll take. We've already got a plan for season 3. Blake, you want to share a little bit, or season 4? Excuse me. You want to share a little bit on our plans for season 4?
Yeah. So we're actually looking really forward to it. Of course, we always look forward to our seasons that we get to do together. But we're going to be looking at cults, particularly American cults. So this is something that I've been kind of deep diving the last couple of months. Just re-upping and refreshing on things, and then these brothers as well have been doing some study. So it should be very educational, should be edifying, should help us kind of beef up a little bit, hit the theological gym as far as right theology and defending our faith and those good kinds of things. Yep. If anything, it'll help you ruin Christmas dinner. So
it's always a win.
Yeah. It's always good. Yep. Before we get into any of that, Grayson, I think you were, before we hit record here, you were talking about the mortification of Zen.
Yes. Ooh, good one. That was good. Yeah. Yeah, there's an article
That's why Jack wanted to run to that topic so quickly.
Yeah. Jack's the guy who actually wrote the article. Right. He's got the puns built into it, so... No, I stumbled across an article today called "Have Mercy on Me, a Zinner."
And where was it posted?
If you don't know what Zin is,
ZYN, just in case,
they're like little pouches. They're just nicotine pouches that have flavor to them, and so it's basically it's a way that you can throw it in your mouth, get your nicotine fix if you want, without all the tobacco mess and everything like that.
This was a Christianity Today article, right?
Yes, it was. Which is, I mean, no shocker there, right? But I found it incredibly interesting. So, I come from just a dark past in terms of the things that I did before I knew Christ, and the language the guy used all throughout the article was comical to me because how he speaks of this, he was a zinner, as a self-professed zinner, so at least he came clean. But he's talking about it like he's on the road to recovery from heroin. I literally have had conversations with heroin addicts, and every bit of it reads along those lines of this guy going into the deepest, darkest, most depraved corners of the world, in some sense, because he used some nicotine pouches when he was younger. And he's a Gen Z kid. He's going, I think it was Covenant Theological Seminary that he's going to, but the whole thing just reeked of that. I'll read you just a nice little quote. I actually read it for these guys, but one of the beginning paragraphs, he comes in and says, "I lost my nicotine virginity in a scene that would give a Dare presenter goosebumps. An older student offered me a vape in our high school parking lot, and unfortunately I just said yes. I still remember the first puff, the sting in my throat, the expectation, the possessing buzz. I was hooked. What started as a curiosity quickly turned into a reflex, then a habit, then a problem. By the time I entered college, I was ready to quit. After a few failed attempts at quitting cold turkey, a friend advised weaning off vape with Zyn, so I tried it out. And they were right. Well, sort of. The urge to hit a jewel soon faded, but the Zyn stayed." So that's that indwelling Zyn.
Yeah, right.
That we all we all have to mortify our Zyn daily.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have either of you ever used a nicotine pouch?
So here's an interesting bit. So when I was in high school, so this is kind of like the antithesis of this story. So growing up, my dad, all my uncles, they were all like Copenhagen chewing tobacco, users. Yeah. And so that was just like, family culture kind of thing. So I was in high school, and there was this kid in my English class named Levi, and he was a shop kid. I don't even have to describe to you what a shop kid is, because you instinctively know what a shop kid is. And
he's really good at buying things, right?
So Levi, he pulls out this can of Copenhagen, and he's like asks everybody around in class, like in our immediate area, like, "Oh, do you want a dip of this?" And I'm like, "No, I do not." Yeah. And so like all these other kids were like, yeah. So just grabbing like, just
handful
ungodly amounts. Gosh. Yeah. Like
it's just, like the Sandlot, like, where they all go to the
right. No, literally, and it was in sitting there and having been around it, I was observing in the moment. These are kids that are not used to chewing tobacco because of the amount that they're grabbing. I can just tell. So they're getting it, like stuffing it in there and everything, and it's not 10 minutes. I have to go, out, kids getting up and leaving, going to the bathroom, getting sick, everything, just like turning green, all that kind of stuff. So, that was a grand victory over Zen, I would say, for me. But it was just one of those, for me, it was one of those, like, okay, it was so not difficult to say no. I don't know.
Yeah.
This guy,
I've never had a hard time.
The peer pressure thing is not anything that I really understand, because I've never been I don't know. And it's not like a pride thing. It's probably a stupidity thing, if anything. It was just like, no, I'm just like, everything that I have done is because I've wanted to do it, I think, in school, it was never, like, oh, I got to fit in, or I got to feel like, this kid's not going to like me or whatever, It was, I don't know. So when I hear about an older student offering you a vape and you taking it and starting off in this, you're robbing banks and everything else to get your...
stealing from grandma's sewing tin to get your next Zyn fix.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It goes too far.
So when I was in middle school, there was a kid...
Zyn will keep you longer than you want to stay. Cost you more than you're willing to pay. I don't remember the third thing.
When I was in middle school, there was a kid who was older than me. So he was I guess I was in 8th grade. He would have been in 9th grade. And he started doing chewing tobacco. Yeah. And he developed, by 10th grade, you guys are smiling. This isn't funny.
You said tobacco.
Tobacco.
Yeah.
Is that how you normally say it?
I don't know. It's not a word I say all the time.
Say it. When I say tobacco 10 times a day, that's how I say it.
Yeah. Tobacco? I'm going to say it the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, right.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll say it again, and then you can fact check.
We had the tobacco.
The tobacco? No, but he developed cancer in his mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
In 1 year and died while I was in high school. Which is crazy. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I knew a guy in high school. Parents owned a massive farm, and so he had been dipping since like 7th grade. And you just see him. He played tuba and everything. So I mean, imagine what his spit valve looked like, because he was chewing while he played.
Right. Yeah.
And but this guy would
talk
always
about
walk
streamlining your hobbies.
Yeah. He just had an empty plastic bottle that he'd walk around with and just spit in it all day long.
I knew so many kids in high school that did that. Growing up in rural East Texas,
my dad,
the Coke bottle.
My dad and my uncles never spit; they swallowed it.
Really?
Oh. Yeah, I know. It's just terrible. Now, when our household was converted Presbyterian style, my dad quit chewing.
Amen.
At that time. Yeah. So.
Oh.
So he's been off of that for a long time.
I dipped a few times back in high school. I never really got into it much. That was more so like if we ran out of cigarettes or something like that. Because I smoked cigarettes. Yeah. I'll be fully honest with you. I smoked for, over 10 years. It wasn't like... I
gotta go. I can't be a part of this.
Grayson, you're making me uncomfortable.
Yeah. There's too much zen.
And it wasn't even chewing tobacco that Grayson was talking about. He was actually just eating cigarette butts that he was finding.
You actually want to hear something funny? So when I was a young kid, I had all sorts of different weird excuse me, collections of things.
That's those 10-year-old cigarettes coming back on you.
I swallowed water down the wrong pipe because I was laughing. Because it reminded me of when I was a kid. What I would do is I would collect cigarette butts. I'd have them like in the back of my little, big 3-wheeler type thing, the plastic ones that you rode around on as a kid.
Right. How old are you when you were doing this?
Oh, I was probably 6-7 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So you open up the seat of my big wheel and there are hundreds of cigarette butts. Just imagine finding that as a parent and be like, what are you doing, buddy? Yeah. It was nothing compared to my earwig collection, though. I can tell you that.
Oh, wow.
Especially when you mix the two and you make the earwig smoke. No, I'm just kidding.
right. Just chain smoking earwigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so
there was an effective, I will say, for the most part. So this is kind of with an asterisk, but the thing that kept me from diving into like heavy tobacco use as a kid, because again, family culture, it wouldn't have been an issue. I'm pretty sure it would have just been a, whatever. But there was one of those, at public school I went to, there was one of those, not dare, but the guy that comes in, it's like, hey, don't smoke. Even though your teachers are like in their little private courtart, chain smoking, and all that stuff, but like, oh, don't smoke. But they, he was talking about like the different people, like showing the pictures of like, the mouth cancer and all that stuff, and stories similar to what Jack was telling of people that, for just a short time developing, having to have their jaws removed and all that stuff. And so as a kid, I was kind of like, well, it doesn't super seem like it's worth it. So
yeah. No, I get that. The problem I have on the face with the article, so like we've been making fun of it the whole time, right? And for good reason. It's I think due to the language the guy is using. Again, I look at tobacco use as far as if you want to do it recreationally. I don't think it's a zin issue necessarily. The Bible wouldn't call it zin. I should say sin at this point because I'm being more serious.
Thank you for taking your serious point and just utterly running it through.
Let me be serious for him.
Right.
So I go back to the issue of mastery, and it's the same thing if you're addicted to sweets or if you are a person that has to have your coffee every single day, and if you don't have your coffee, then everybody knows about it and they have to pay. All sorts of different things chemically can wire and affect your brain in different ways. Does that mean it's evil in and of itself? No. But it can become a point of addiction, and it can become a point. It's just like...
There's definitely a bonus for the people that are watching instead of just listening.
This is why we do it just for you guys.
Yeah, right.
But there is that aspect where something can have mastery over it, or over you, rather. And even Paul talks about that when he's framing just the argument against the Corinthian slogans, right? The Corinthian slogans, it's that chunk in, I think it's 2 Corinthians. I can do all things, but not all things are profitable. That's where he's going tit for tat with them. And that's the idea of mastery, right? It's, you can do certain things, but it doesn't necessarily make it profitable for you. It doesn't make it edifying for the body or for, and by that I mean the church, but also even particularly you can get into basic aspects of wisdom. So if you're chain smoking, like our previous owner of this house used to, I mean, he was up to like 4 or 5 packs a day, which I don't even understand the time reference for that. It's obviously you could call into question mastery and sin and this issue here. But the sin in and of itself is not the thing. It's the abuse of that thing. It's like you can enjoy a good piece of cake. I think John MacArthur uses this as an example because he enjoys cake. And at Grace, there would be, my old pastor told me this story, but at Grace, there would be birthday parties all the time. So pretty much every day there was cake. And he walked up to John, and John wasn't having any. And he goes, "Oh, you don't like cake either," thinking here's a fellow guy that's just not big on cake. And he said, "No, I actually really love cake, but I don't eat it all that often because I love it too much, and I don't want anything to have mastery over me."
Yeah.
Right? And it's something silly. It's cake. But there's a principle there that I think basic wisdom prevails. Where
Mason, I heard that's how they got the term master's seminary too. I think that's where that terminology comes from, is from that story.
The cake one?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
John MacArthur said he didn't want the cake to have mastery over him. Yeah.
That was terrible. I'm sorry. No one sent me an email. That was a terrible joke, and it's not true.
Comments blowing up. How dare you say that? Yeah. I think the point of with the article, though, is not that somebody would write about, having victory or fighting against something that has mastery, or even the subtleties of how little things can get their hooks into you and take mastery. But as Grayson was reading us much fuller portions of that against our will before we started, there was what was clear is that this was being written in a very dramatic fashion.
Yes.
For the punchline, "Lord, forgive me, a sinner."
Well, there's one right here that I'm looking at. He's like, "We're trading spiritual dependence for a chemical calm." And I read that, I'm like, okay, you can do that, sure. And we're left with faith without hunger, worship without depth, and spirituality without surrender. We become what Jesus warned against. Not whitewashed tombs, but white pouched ones.
Yeah, see, it's too far.
It's hard for me to take the article serious. Like I can genuinely appreciate, hey, someone wrestles with an addiction, they struggle with this, and it's a real problem for them. And I get that. It could be cake, it could be Zen, it could be, like you said, Grace, coffee, whatever, right? But when you make puns like that, I mean, I made a master's seminary pun on cake, and it's the same level of communication. Like I'm doing it to get a laugh out of my friends, and this guy's trying to. That it doesn't work. That medium doesn't
if you're writing an article about gluttony, the way that you approach it should not be how many beef Wellington jokes can I work in here?
Yeah, or like how many fat jokes can I work in?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. It's just weird. It's just a weird. It's a weird way to write.
It's a weird tone. Yeah, weird approach.
Sir, you are not invited to write for the Chorus and the Chaos.
Yeah. Again, I likened it to this guy thinking it was so severe that he had like a heroin addiction or something, or a crack addiction.
Which I don't know. Maybe for him. I mean, I don't know. I do.
Perhaps
there is some things in life that are a big deal to some people that are not a big deal to you, and you have to try to graciously.
I don't know how to do that well, though. I'm serious. It's like I'm not a good person because I read that and I think of this guy. Right. I think of Andrew Bernard on The Office. Who's like, I have not had a very hard life.
Yeah, right. I think, exactly. That is exactly it too. Yeah. I mean, this context is a little different because that's an article I'm thinking more in the context of like a prayer meeting or something,
Yeah, I mean,
somebody says like,
a
will you pray
difference.
for my sick cat or something like that. It's like, I really don't want to do that, but
I refuse to pray for that.
yeah, I refuse to pray for this nonsense.
You put my cat in the freezer.
Yeah.
Shout out to
had to work in another office reference.
Yeah, shout out to our friend Heath, who refuses.
So I think I told you guys about my
nonsense.
friend Ken.
Jack, I swear, if this is another Barbie joke, I am not.
It's not. No, I have a friend named. He and I don't talk anymore. Although I could call him and he'd answer, we'd be fine. We used to be really close. We were roommates at one point, a couple times over the years when I was in college and what. Anyway, this friend of mine named Ken, and I have a ton of wild, crazy stories with Ken. He was a very interesting guy. Well, one of the unique things about Ken is he smoked cigarettes for a long time, and when I had met him, he had gotten over it, but he got addicted to nicotine gum.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's a similar thing. Like the guy was vaping and he got addicted to Zen to get off of vaping.
Yeah.
Well, my friend Ken got addicted to nicotine gum, and I'm telling you, he would go through and those things are expensive. Like he traded one bad habit for an extraordinarily expensive habit. It was, I don't remember exactly. This is 20 years ago, but at the time, I think it was like $18 a package of gum or something like that.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
He would go through I don't know, 2 a day or something.
I'm not super well versed in the varieties of like all the varieties of tobacco intake, but it seems like nicotine gum has to be in the least enjoyable half of ways to take in nicotine.
Well, I would ask him, because I was like, doesn't it bother you? And his answer was, well, this has got to be better for me than the cigarette, so I just live with it.
In what way? Right? How is this better? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, another interesting tidbit about Ken. So Ken was a manager at a movie theater, and when Mission Impossible 2 came out, this is 100% true, by the way. When Mission Impossible 2 came out, I don't know how he got connected with this.
Is Ken the guy that couldn't hear you when you needed him to change the reel?
No. That was Grant.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. What?
Yeah,
throwback.
Yeah, that's right. We're world building in Jack's movie theater here.
Yeah, same. Okay,
we've got
same
Ken,
movie theater.
We've got Grant, Jack, all very basic white guy names.
Yep.
Too.
Yes.
You might need to make those a little more creative.
Sure. So Darnell was. Just kidding.
All right.
Ken,
all right.
Yeah, we'll change his name to Darnell. So Darnell, Ken got involved with this charity that helped. If I remember correctly, it's been a long time, but when their entire charity was to help families of police officers who were killed in the line of duty. Right. So a noble thing, right, to take care of them. Somehow he worked it out where he walked from Shreveport, Louisiana to Los Angeles. It took him like 2 months. He had like a RV follow him. He would stop, stay the night in the RV, and then walk the next day. So it took him a long time. But he walked all the way from Shreveport, Louisiana to LA. And if I remember correctly, I think he got to go to the Mission Impossible 2 premiere. And it was like a promotion for the movie that also raised money for these families. And at the end of it, he actually got a phone call. Tom Cruise called him and told him, like, hey, great job, man. Way to go, or something like that. You did the impossible mission, or I don't know what he said, but anyway.
In the fundraising, the other end of the
and he was addicted to nicotine gum.
Is the fundraising after all the expenses of the trip? He earned a whole $6 for those families.
Yeah, turns out it's wildly expensive to cross.
We got a receipt here for $600 in nicotine gum. What is that? I'm not sure we can write that off.
Yeah. My walking high. Yeah.
It's a necessary expense. Huh.
Well, Grayson, I want to say you look great tonight.
Yeah.
You're usually pretty blurry. I didn't know you had books behind you because I usually can't see you, but you're so crystal clear. Grayson Gilbert in 4K. I almost doxed the guy there.
Yeah.
Talking about Ken, but Grayson
Turns
Gilbert
in
in 4K.
It was Grayson the whole time.
Yeah.
It was Ken.
Yeah, you look good. You look good.
Thank you. No, the camera actually makes a big difference. I was on a phone call or a Zoom meeting the other day, and both the gentlemen are like, you've got just like a glow around you. Because, of course, I made a holiness joke because that's
it was
who I am.
Of yeah, right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there's a lot more clarity, depth of mind that's been brought out too, obviously. The brain fog, I would say, especially from quitting the Zin, has helped to be out. I can actually read books again.
You know,
Yeah.
Zen
What if
will
this
never
whole
call us
time-
as a podcast sponsor now.
No,
like
that's
we
true.
have burned that bridge.
Or they might. That might be like
We found out you said our name probably about 40
Right,
times.
Some
We had-
algorithm is lighting
we
off
had
the charts.
like next Monday, like the Zen board meeting, they're like, so we had AI scan all of these podcasts and stuff, and this Christian podcast, the Chorus and the Chaos, said Zen like 1,000 times. Yeah. Speaking of AI,
Oh,
Segway
Jack?
jump.
do you
What
have
about it?
anything do you have anything you'd like to say to AI right now?
I'm
It's
cautious.
getting scary.
This is like one of
Yeah.
those
It's getting
improv
scary.
things where you ask Jack a question and he just responds,
You're right.
no.
Right.
Oh, okay.
No, so
yeah.
a little bit again, a little background. The three
You've
of us
written
talk
a little
about
bit on AI.
yeah,
You've sent me and Grayson text messages at 3 a.m. just
about the dangers of AI.
the dangers of AI.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think. It is a weird thing. As someone who grew up watching science fiction movies, where
Yeah.
like half of them, the backstory is the machines take over, and you know it's an AI driven revolt, and they're in some dystopian
Yeah.
world.
Here's a question though, Jack, and
Yeah.
I'm not being snarky. Okay. I
Uh-oh.
would never do that to you. How does a fear of AI, how does that mesh with being post-mill?
What's your
Grayson
point?
and I, we have reason to be terrified. All right.
Yeah, we're
reason.
dispensationalists and everybody makes fun of us anyways.
The
So-
post-mill thing, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, AI, it seems like it would be just a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's all in the scope, right? The serious answer is, if you want to ask me how close are we to the end, I would say we're still early in the church, and AI could come and go and run its course, and there
Does
could
it
be
bother
another.
you that Doug Wilson says that same thing?
No, let's have him on the podcast.
Put him into a Moscow
No, but it's
mood.
the truth. Like we don't know where we're at in the timeline,
Do
right?
you know who else liked scones? Hitler.
Right.
Right.
So we
Yeah,
don't know where we're at in the
So you
timeline.
don't know the timeline. So you're saying you're just saying that it could just
It's
could just be a
AI,
phase
I'll say
in our.
I use AI. I mean,
Right.
when this podcast is over, the little program we'll use AI to create clips. In fact, yesterday I had an incredible use of AI. I would say the most useful yet. I don't know if you guys, I posted about it on my personal Facebook page.
Yeah.
But in 1990, this is a true story. In 1997, I heard the end of a song on a radio, and 15-year-old me, however old I was in 97, thought it was awesome. I was like, that was a cool song, and I remembered the words and I remembered the melody, and I never heard it again on the radio. And periodically after that, I'd think about the song, and I tried Googling it a handful of times over the years and could never find it. Like it never turned up. Well, a few days over the weekend, I thought I should plug that into Chat GPT and see if it was. So I typed in I said, help me figure out what this song is. Here are the lyrics I remember. It came on the radio about this time. I said late 90s. And
Right.
it said, this is your song. Never heard of the band, never heard of the song. I went and listened to it. It was 100% the song, like dead spot on.
Yeah.
So
See,
it's
now that's just a
like,
good use. Yeah,
it's a good use. Like
Yeah.
I found AI to be really helpful for search engine stuff, like things like that. But some of the stuff is creepy. Like you can't deny that. Like
Well, the way
some of
that it's developing was that one of you guys or was that a mutual friend of ours that sent the Facebook AI thing about like, chat with this AI friend.
Oh, that was
Oh,
me.
that was
Yeah.
Jack.
Facebook was advertising that. Yeah, I posted about that on the page.
Yeah, and so like
So
that
creepy.
just opens up into this whole weird realm of building relationships with AI and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you just think about all of like you said, it's hard to think about stuff like this without thinking of like Terminator and
Yeah.
It
those
is.
kinds of
It
things.
is, yeah.
Where it's just like, it doesn't seem like you're that far from something crazy, happening. So I don't know.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard of
It is unsettling.
Ray Kurzweil, I think you might say
I
it.
don't think so, no.
It's like
the only reason
great value Ray Comfort.
he's way worse than that. And let me just go out and say, I don't prescribe to anything that this guy says. He's not a believer. He's totally wacky. But he's made some technology predictions that are oddly accurate. And the only reason I know who he is because a band I like called Our Lady Peace from a long time ago actually released an album coincidentally in 1997, I think, called The Age of Spiritual Machines, which was a concept album based on his book. So that's the only reason I know who he is.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. I think maybe I heard about this guy from you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I may have told you some point.
I was going to say there's also the guy that actually invented AI. I can't remember his name, but there was a lengthy article I sent, I think both of you guys, a couple of years back, where he was it was in New York Times or something like that, and he was going through it saying how he regretted creating
with the dates and stuff, or was that your thing, Jack?
That was my thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the guy basically said, "I regret creating AI because it will destroy the world." I'm like, oh, okay. So the guy who created
Thanks for being
it,
subtle.
Yeah,
Right.
he was just like, it's a complete mistake, and we shouldn't be using it. We don't know the capabilities of what it can do at this point, and it's wildly outpacing what we ever thought it would.
So let me read Ray Kurzweil's kind of dates and prediction. He's not been 100% accurate. He wouldn't call himself a prophet. He's like a scientist, and I'll say if you want to go like he's the guy that is like, I think this is the best thing ever, because for him at the end of it, man and machine merge and become eternal, like infinite, like there's no death, because it gets really weird with him, right? But his predictions have been scary. And if you look at his predictions, they're close enough where you can see a compelling timeline to wherever he thinks it's going. So anyway, so he made these predictions in 1990. Okay. So he said that in the 90s, computers will defeat chess. Computer will defeat a human chess champion. Speech recognition will begin to be used, and PCs will become common in homes. So we all saw that. He said this in 1990. In 2000 to 2009, we'll begin using computers in medical situations. People will begin putting computers in skin and clothing, like Fitbits, smartwatches. People begin wearing it. The 2010 to 2019, self-driving cars will become a topic. We'll have Internet of Things. We'll have glasses that have like those Google glasses where you have the internet and the screens and things like that. And he begins talking about how the technology will begin to move away from computers and onto like tablets and things of that sort. Anyway, so he's been relatively close within like within a 5 to 10 year window. So then you look ahead and you're like, well, what does this guy say?
What's the
and he
future
says
hold for us?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, what are the what are the next decades? What are we going to look like? So in the 2030s, this is what he says. He says nanobots will begin medical use, repairing cells and extending life. So computers will begin cellular repair. Brain-computer interfaces will allow direct thought through upload and download, which sounds like Neuralink. I mean, that sounds like what Musk is
trying to do.
On. Yep. And again, he predicted all this a long time ago. And then in 2045, this is where he says singularity will happen. And the moment of singularity is what he calls it. He says AI surpasses human intelligence by 1 billion-fold, because there's this exponential AI learning factor where humans begin to merge with AI and become immortal digital beings.
So a cloud network.
Post-mill, though.
That's the question.
Sounds like
you're avoiding that
makes
question,
me this
Jack.
close to becoming pre-mill.
Pre-mill
dispensation. Like that's the end of all things right there.
Like the hard turn. Like like the pre-mill that pre-mills don't want to hang out with.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just I don't know, man. It's
crazy.
It is scary. Like it's just it's unnerving. Maybe scary is not the word. It's just a little it's unnerving.
It is
and it seems like it's something that can so radically get out of hand so quickly. And then just what it'll do, what these things, because the depravity of man, it's always clawing for the next. It's always clawing for the next thing. And somebody said that I don't even remember who this was, but somebody said that any new technology that comes out the first question is, how can I make money on this? And the second question is, how can I pervert it? So if I can make money and I can pervert it, that is the thing, that they do. And this just opens up worlds.
Oh yeah, it's scary.
Of just crazy stuff. And what that means for the church is probably,
it's going to be all sorts of mess, I think. You look at the major players when it came to anything with video. Like, why did they survive? VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. Well, the major backer behind them was the illicit industry of pornography.
Right.
So,
you mean the advancement of like a medium?
Yep. And so you think about how that can be employed. I think it's already being employed throughout AI. But imagine the capabilities of man as they're looking at that and saying, well, again, we can pervert it this way and hand over fist make a ton of money at the same time.
Right.
And our culture is so steeped in this as a problem that I don't see a way around them doing that. I mean, it's it's just weird. I mean, not only are you forgoing.
Go ahead, Grayson.
I was going to say, not only so the whole chat with a bot type of thing, develop a friend relationship, right, with some Facebook AI. It's like you're already dehumanizing things enough at that level, and then when you remove really what is the significance of man and wife becoming one flesh, and their sexual union, it's like you're taking quite literally every bit of what God has created and done that's good and perverting it down to the level of the individual soul who's going to consume it with something that has no soul.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Kurzweil, one of the things he mentions, and I actually think he's right on this. In fact, I think oddly, progressive liberal culture has paved the way for this, because right now, and we've talked about, we've interviewed Nancy Pearcey, and she wrote a lot about this in her book Love Thy Body. But when you have this perception of reality that's twofold, right? Not unified, like mind, the body, and soul. It's not you one thing, but when you separate the mind from the body, when the person is separate and the will and the soul is removed from the body, and the body is this disposable thing, it is this crack in a worldview that just splinters in so many different areas. And we've talked about her book before in the past. If you've never read Love Thy Body by Nancy Pearcey, it is one of the best worldview books you can find for modern culture. But that's basically the premise of it, that when you break that divide, when you remove the mind from the body, it just fractures everything.
Yep.
But you think about that in the context of AI and robots and relationships, and we have paved the way. I'll say Satan, whatever, demonic forces, human sin, some combination thereof, have paved the way for this to just fester and grow in terrible ways. Because because we're gonna go back to the beginning and have to really truly understand, what does it mean to be human and made in the image of God?
Right.
Yep.
Right. Because is it if you have a will, if you have some kind of perceivable consciousness like an AI without a body, or give it a body, give it a fake body, some bionic, like, does that define humanity? Does that define there's a big debate now with the PETA people, are octopi and these cuttlefish and all these things, are they sentient beings? Because there's all these debates, but society has fractured such that we have divorced the mind and the soul from the body as a whole, as a culture, not everybody, but as a culture. And it's just scary to me to think, okay, now you insert AI to that and you give intelligence to things that are fundamentally and inherently not intelligent. What kind of rights are they going to have? How is the world going to
or like a pseudo-intelligence? Like, that's the other thing, is like, I'm not even sure, like, this subject is so big. Like, how does that, I wouldn't even know how that would work. Like, how do you apply intelligence then to something that doesn't have, and then what does that mean for other areas that we're more concerned with? If we're looking to give rights to an octopus,
well, when you talk about machines,
when things are developing further down, and like giving life to machines, kind of, how many movies, sci-fi movies and things have been made
I'm a neural processor, a learning computer.
Yeah, right. But then where does it? What does it mean for like things like the sanctity of life in the womb and things like that? It's just,
Yep.
That's how crazy society is.
It is. Well,
so.
let's just say for a second, take the Kurzweil prediction that let's just say that this happens, right? And there is a large aspect of the civilization that somehow merges intellectually with machines, and their consciousness exists in a computer somehow.
It doesn't seem possible. Like, does a biblical worldview allow that?
I don't think it does, but that's
I mean,
my
like,
point.
I'm not saying does it allow it morally. I'm saying does it allow it, like in
as
actuality?
Even a conceive, because once you divorce the soul from the body,
right?
Well, I would say, if I had to, I mean, who knows, right? We're talking.
I want to say no.
Like,
I want to say that. I want to like my gut reaction is that what we are talking about in that regard is an impossibility.
Well, I would say that it would be something like this. This is me guessing, right? I am not an expert here, but what if AI, Blake, what if AI studied you and you interacted with it so much over a lifetime that it learned you and mimicked you to 99.8%?
Right, but that's not you, though.
No.
I mean, so like you still die,
and I know that,
yeah.
yes, and we would agree that as a Christian worldview, we would absolutely understand that.
Right.
But imagine you're not Christian, and that happens. Your mom dies, but your mom's consciousness is being mimicked almost perfectly in something or some medium, like a Siri or a computer, or maybe like a robot that looks like her, where you can interact with your mom. It sounds like your mom. It responds like your mom. It's like society. I just can imagine now there are large swaths of society that would embrace that. I mean, how many people now are involved in the occult and try and communicate with them? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Here's a better version of that.
We're talking about two different things, though.
Yeah, Blake is saying, I mean, what defines the actual soul of an individual as opposed to...
Totally.
Absolutely. I totally agree with what you're saying. Is when it gets to, if there's a learning model that can take on the personality, the nuances, even, memories, to whatever degree that it's released, and can make, educated guesses about what a person would say and how they would act and all those things because of the data input or whatever. I can see definitely what you're saying is that down the road, can I go down to Costco and pick up my very own Jack Lee?
Well, there's an interesting
99.9%. Yeah,
there's an interesting podcast that was actually done called Life After, that is quite literally this concept in a storytelling podcast. And so the guy's girlfriend dies, and somehow her consciousness or whatever, not necessarily her consciousness, but her actions and everything else gets uploaded into it, and then works through this. But it's a manipulative system, AI system, right? That is doing it for the purposes of destruction. So, I mean, again, people are thinking about this. Unbelievers are thinking about this, even the ramifications of it. They've been thinking about it for years. The perfect examples you see, obviously, that we mentioned are movies like Terminator, but also think of things like The Matrix and
Dune.
But
Dune started off that way.
Yeah,
right. But there's things though. I guess the big kind of like, to throw a lasso around it. The question is, what is the church going to have to be facing in the coming, 3 decades? I mean, 30 years from now, what are things going to look like?
Yeah.
Because it seems like the AI thing is just an unstoppable machine right now. Because it's not like everybody in the world's going to say like, hey, this is dangerous. We should probably just turn this off and be done with it.
What's crazy is everybody is saying that, but people are still using it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's kind of that. But it's kind of that. I feel like it's kind of that attitude of like, well, you have to keep going because your enemies are going to keep going. You know what I mean? Like they're going to keep developing things. These other nations keep developing things, and we can't get behind, so we have to keep developing it and all that. It's either going to lead to, I don't know, either the Lord returning, or it's going to lead to something so disastrous that it necessitates a huge pull away. Right.
But I don't know that people will, just because of their love of entertainment. So that's where I think this whole thing kind of gets wrapped up, and it gets even more messy. So we don't, on a normal basis, think of anything apocalyptic when it comes to AI, even though in the industry it's a worldwide thing. Guys like Elon Musk have quite literally said, I'm terrified of what this could potentially do. And yet he's still exploring it a ton.
Forward with it, yeah.
But most of humanity doesn't think like that. We're like, okay, yeah, that's interesting. Perhaps that could happen. But really what I want to see is, what would I look like if I had a Santa hat on and I was jacked?
Right.
All right. Now do it with a bunch of cats surrounding me.
Yeah. Could you remove this guy from my vacation photo here? Yeah. Well, I mean, again, but there's useful application. I guess
Blake, have you seen there's a reel where a guy he's looking at it, he goes like, hey, it's like AI in the future, and he's like, hey, AI, can you remove these people in the background? And then it says done, and then he looks and the people are still there, and he goes, oh. It was like AI in the future because the machine, implying the machines killed everyone in the
right. Yeah,
it's a really funny reel.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
No, that was the perfect way to end it. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. It's just it's scary, and I don't know. Maybe did people talk about the internet like this? Like, did the generation before us?
I remember Y2K was a whole thing.
Did they look at it? Well, yeah. So Y2K, I mean, that was a big thing. That was like
but that was an event. That was like
a world event kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Was there had to have been some level. If people were getting worked up about Pokemon, they had to have been getting worked up about like something like the internet. Like this is going to be the thing that destroys. So I don't know. Maybe it just gets kicked down the road further and further. But it seems like this is something that
it's going to hit an inflection point of something. I agree, and I do think the church is going to have to deal with it. I mean, I posted on that again. Facebook. What I saw was Facebook was advertising, "Hey, chat with these AI bots," and they were pictures of attractive AI women.
Right.
And I'm just like, this is going to destroy me. Like,
oh yeah,
right.
People as a pastor, you step into the counseling office because a wife is finding out that her husband's having an affair with an AI bot.
Right.
Yeah. It's like,
but then see, so this opens up a whole nother door.
I know.
Maybe we need a listener warning here for young kids. I don't know, but it opens up another door of people becoming more worthless than they already are, like more entrenched. Because you think about like our entertainment soaked society right now, to be more entrenched in this false world that now is beyond just entertainment. Now you're developing friendships and relationships with these, fake bots and things like that. And I can hear it now. I can hear Christian men and women getting into these things and justifying it by saying, well, it's not real. It's not a real person. Like as if that makes any kind of a difference.
It's going to be a wild battle. It is going to be man.
Well, and on top of that, there's people like, I think just in the Reformed Pub, somebody had sent something to us about, this conversation comes up about asking AI for spiritual counsel. I'm in this situation. Like, so in the same things that you might ask a Christian brother or sister, or you might ask your pastor or whatever.
ChatGPT, what should I do?
Right. From a Christian worldview, what should I do in this circumstance? And just the things that is going to bring in, because it takes the last frontier, the Christian religion, the last frontier that God is in, seemingly, and rips God out of that also.
Yeah.
I mean, the God has been ripped out of creation with evolution, evolutionary mind thought. He's been ripped out of humanity with psychiatry. And now, like, the last bastion where God is expected to be in Christianity, now people are asking ChatGPT, ripping the Holy Spirit out of the situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's effectively
and saying, well, what
prayer?
Yeah, right. So there's no prayer, there's no Holy Spirit involved. It's totally not recognizing the gifting that God gives individuals within the local church for the purpose of ministering to one another. Yeah. And in this weird way, it isolates you more than, like, in the strangest way. Like, whoever would have thought this was going to be a thing? Yeah. Like, if you
everyone thought it was going to be a thing.
No, what if you could set No,
science fiction has been telling us this is going to happen.
No, what if you could set the Apostle Paul down and be like, okay, look, there's basically like this rock that has electricity in it and like lightning in it, and people are going to ask it spiritual questions.
He make that's paganism.
And they're going to get a response. Right. Phineas, get the spear.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's again, it's,
you know, I do think there's it's just our generation, like our age group, and maybe even a group, you know, a little younger than us. It's weird to think that, because we're in an age when I grew up, and I think we've talked about this a little bit. I grew up without large internet being widely available when I was a young kid.
Right. Yeah.
You know, cell phone, like the iPhone, like that type of level of connectivity didn't exist until right after I graduated college.
Right.
Yep.
So the formative, my early years of life were honestly, they were much closer to a childhood in the 1950s than the way a kid grows up now. Like the way we lived and just the day-to-day stuff of, we had TV, we had technology, but we were outside because, you know, there was 18 channels on the TV, and if there wasn't something on, you run outside.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Or you're told to go play, and if you're not back
you just
home by
out.
a certain period, it's like you're running around for hours completely unchecked.
Yeah, right? but it's weird to think that we could be the last generation to really understand what that's like.
I think we already kind of are there.
To a point. Like it's gonna continually erode. I mean, think about your grandkids. Think about the world your grandkids are gonna grow up into as it relates to their use of technology.
Do you think there's a cultural drawback though? So I recognize,
I hope so.
Even in saying this, I recognize kind of like that all of us to an extent we live in a box, you know. So like the people that I communicate with mostly, honestly, are Christians, and they're, you know, guys, you know, like you guys around, you know, my age, you know, raising kids and things like that, where obviously it would be expected that worldviews would look the same, and we would be talking about things like, you know, what does it look like to responsibly limit the entertainment content that your kids are taking in and internet access. So like I recognize that there's a little bit of living in a box there, but it seems like that there is a cultural drama, because I even know some non-believers that are asking those same kind of questions, not from a theological standpoint, but from just a like, what's good for my kid?
What's good? What's simple?
You know, what's good? What's like what is
like the whole trad wife movement in one sense.
Kind of. Yeah, and actually that's actually a great illustration, because the trad wife movement is not exclusively Christian, because there's other you know, other things involved in it, but yet it's like this cultural drawback to you know, single income household trying to make it work, homemaking for the mother, sourdough bread, you know, whatever the thing is. So I'm wondering if how much, I don't think it can totally take care of this AI issue, but I'm wondering if things continue to progress, and as people maybe get more worried about it, particularly people that are having kids, if that drawback will help kill the industry somehow. Maybe.
I hope so.
But I don't know if there's a big enough, like right now, I don't know if there's a big enough movement.
I would say no. I think
happen.
Let's just say things progress just as Ray Kurzweil says that they're going to, right? Even if that happens, there is always going to be a core of the population, a segment of the population that's like, no, not doing it. Whether it's because of reasons like us, where we look at it and say, this is not good, potentially evil, and
like
for
semi-demonic,
no. Or it's just people who are like, you know what, I'm not doing this. I believe in a simple life. I'm gonna farm. I want to, you know, live a homesteader life. Like there's always going to be people that do that.
I'm getting ready to start that terrible strength, by the way.
That hideous
strength.
Yeah, the hideous strength. Yeah, I just finished up the second book.
So, what did you think? What did you think of the books?
No, it was good. Yeah, I'm liking them so far. Yeah. Not a big C.S. Lewis fan, but this has kind of turned me. So Space Trilogy.
The Space Trilogy.
It's so different than Narnia. I was not expecting that at all. So I'm excited to jump into the third one, because you guys have talked about it so highly. So.
You'll love it when Santa Claus.
I got to make sure I read the right one. That hideous strength, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That terrible strength is different. Yeah. Yeah. That's
it's a good
actually
book,
that
man.
terrible strength is Grayson's personal bodybuilding regimen. So,
Yeah.
which he sent all of us for Christmas.
Very good.
It's
Here's a
great
stocking
Photoshop
stuffer for you.
on-
It's like, we didn't ask
right,
for this. I gave you
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. So what else is happening? Where do we want to go from here, Jack? We got home repairs to talk about. We've got politics to talk about.
Oh man, do we have enough time?
We're right about 50
Here's what
some
we could
odd
do.
minutes. So
We could cut it here, and then just keep going and have a double episode.
No one wants to listen to that.
Oh, they do. They do. That's not what our statistics say. You'll just have to label this something like, I don't know.
smorgasbord.
Yeah. AI. Tobacco addicted AI.
Tobacco.
Yeah.
Tobacco.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
No, I
Smoking
will say,
robots.
so do you, what time is it? I don't even know. How long have we been going?
It's 8:40,
We've been going for almost an hour.
55 minutes.
Yep.
which means it's 10:40.
I don't know. I had some stuff I wanted to talk about with my home because it's been completely destroyed by water. We could also talk about the IRS. Yeah. And I was also thinking about, I've been thinking a lot this week about that movie Heavyweights from the 90s.
I would love to talk about that.
I've actually never seen it.
Oh, Grayson.
Are you
I know.
really?
I've never,
Never
seen
seen it. I actually
He was
ordered.
too
I was going
busy.
to wear
He was
it.
too busy out picking up cigarette butts in his big wheel to watch
There were far better things for me to do
Yeah, right,
when I forced those little earwigs to smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You've never seen Heavyweights?
I don't think I have.
Grayson,
Yeah.
you have to rent it. It's so good. It's Ben Stiller's best movie by far.
Not Tropic Thunder.
No, it's better
That
than
movie's
Tropic
so
Thunder.
bad. I haven't watched it since I call them the BC days. Before Christ, and
everybody else refers to BC as before Christ also.
Well, not everybody.
No,
It got
that's
changed
true.
at some point to refer to something else, right?
Yeah.
What's that, Blake?
Like the bagel century or something.
Yes, exactly that.
right.
What time zone are you
Here
in?
Yeah, right.
Central Station Donut.
Yeah. I don't know.
You're talking about referencing time zones. So we really did have a flood in our house, and it flooded a bunch of stuff. Earlier today, my wife and I were talking, and she was.
Wait, are we doing episode 2 right now?
I don't know what we're doing. We're just talking. But anyway,
I've got a low battery on my laptop because I forgot to grab my charger as well. So I've got 44 minutes remaining before it just.
Oh, it's plenty of time for me to tell my little story.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but it's really not that good of a story. But we're talking about time, referencing time things. I made myself laugh. That's all that matters. Because she was referencing something, and I was like, well, is that antediluvian? She's like, what are you talking about? Was that before our flood or after the flood? Because our house flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, who were you talking to? I missed that part.
My wife. Because she was talking about a conversation she had, and I asked her if it was
I
antediluvian.
thought it was like an insurance adjuster or something.
No.
Which would have made it funny.
I should.
Yeah, right.
They're like,
And they just start like wheeze laughing, like tears uncontrollably.
No, so
good.
Public service announcement. I posted this on the page, but if you missed that post, so if you have an AC drain, an AC condenser drip drain, because most AC units do, if it's in the basement or ground floor, it's not devastating. If they clog, I didn't know that they clog. It just never occurred to me. We have 2 of them in the attic that share a drain, and ours clogged, and water overflowed and then started going down between. Where it started going down was between our living room and our master bathroom. So it basically wrecked. It went down underneath the flooring of our living room and our master bathroom. And it's, right now I'm wearing this headset if you're on YouTube and have listened this long, because my normal microphone, this one here, I think it would be picking up all the fans drying in the background.
Fans, yeah.
But anyway.
Brutal.
So home maintenance pro tip.
It's also weird where you live. It's weird that they would be putting units in the attic because of extreme temperature swings. Because don't you? I mean, you guys get like cold winters and really hot summers, don't you?
Yeah,
we do. It seems
do.
like it would just burn.
But we don't have basements. They don't do basements here, so
right. Which is weird not to have. Why wouldn't you have a basement in Tornado Alley?
I don't know.
Well, I think it actually has a lot more to
It's the
do with
Illuminati. It's a conspiracy.
Right,
probably the
there's a
soil
conspiracy.
structure.
Yeah, we're trying to kill these guys. Yeah.
We don't need
So-
Oklahomans to survive.
Yeah, we don't have basements because if you dig like a foot down, it's already filling up with water. So
Yeah.
Are you that close
Super.
to sea level?
super high water table in the
Okay.
valley. Yeah,
Okay.
super high.
That's good if you're
Not,
thirsty.
No, in a survival aspect, like when AI takes everything over, at least there'll be water access.
Blake, if AI takes over and the world like falls apart, can I come hang out with you? Because you've got
You'll be able to
ducks
make it.
and a
Blake's
high
got
water
the
table.
basic
You've got,
survival
like in
skills.
reality, like if you want to get like real crazy, like you want to get real, like we want to get real dark here for a minute. I've thought about, I think about these kinds of things. This is what I think about when I'm, laying awake 2 a.m. I thought, like if there was like a major catastrophic event of some sort, I may never talk to Jack and Grayson until glory. Because we're so far apart. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna venture to the next town, see if Jack's family's okay or if Grayson's family's okay. Like it's just like if systems went down, like that would just be it.
Yeah, pretty much.
No,
Yeah.
we'd have to find a way to record every other Wednesday, Blake.
we would be like this in this post-apocalyptic world, and some pigeon would hit my window, and it would have a note from Jack, like, "You guys good to record tonight?
It's just
Are we
a John
recording
Calvin
tonight or
meme,
no?"
and you're like,
right. You're right.
Yes.
Are we recording tonight, guys, or not? Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. To every one of our
We need to get an episode
we will
out.
get
Yeah.
homing pigeons and
Yeah.
train them specifically, so that way when the AI apocalypse breaks out,
Right.
we can still supply you with dank memes.
By
That would
then,
be
though,
quite literally be premium content.
Yes,
that would be
that's
the
right.
premium of premium content.
premium of premium. Yeah. Exactly. And that's all barring that the AI drones don't take out our little carrier pigeons too.
They won't. They
Well,
won't.
birds
know.
are robots anyways, aren't they?
That's true.
That's a good point. They're all in on it.
AI, please remove the drones from this photo. All the birds are still there. Yeah. Yep.
That's about all I got. Grayson, you need to watch Heavyweights, though. It's a great movie.
I will watch it. We've been on a
Lunch
kick
is
lately.
canceled due to lack of hustle.
So you're quoting that. You have
Deal
to give
with
me a
it.
chance to watch it.
The best line in the movie, though, Jack, I wonder if we have the same, because there is one line that stands above all of the other ones in that movie.
What is it?
All you need is Mother Earth, Father Sky, and your good
Your
old
dear
Uncle
old
Tony. Makes me laugh every time.
You know what's crazy? I know we're trying to end it, but you know it's a Disney movie, and it's crazy to me that movie got made.
I know.
That movie would not get made now.
Absolutely not. There are the
So
concept.
un-PC.
First off, the concept is right out. Like that wouldn't even make it past the cutting room pitchboard at all. And then there are things in the movie that you're like, oh, because this was probably, I don't know, this was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, probably. We saw that it was added on a streaming, and I was like, oh, Heavyweights, man, I haven't seen Heavyweights forever. So like my wife, I don't think had seen it, and my kids hadn't seen it. And we started watching it, and it was kind of like, oh, this is there's some uncomfortable moments in this for a Disney film. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to explain to everybody, like, well, it was a different time, it was, things were a little bit different.
Everybody was just casually racist. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Everybody, you just made fun of fat people. It was just the way that it was. It wasn't a lifestyle. Yeah. The moral duty was to bully them out of it. All right. Yeah. So
there's
good.
There's the dark scenes where the kids like lock them up in cages and electrocute them, and like,
oh yeah, right. I know.
It's like crazy.
I know.
Like, how did this get made?
Right. And they and like tying the Russian guy to the tree so the bears will get him or whatever. I'm like, okay, is this Heavyweights or Children of the Corn? What are we watching?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, right. No, it's
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. Thanks for chatting and thanks for listening. If you're still on with us, leave us a comment in the YouTube area. And we'll be back, I think, next time with commandment number 9.
Yep.
Anything else we want to say before we head out?
I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about the IRS or serial killers or the other things that we had on our list.
Yeah.
Another
Next
time.
Another
Yep.
time. Another place.
All right, guys. Well, this is Jack, Grayson, and Blake with the chorus. In the chaos, be killing Zen, or it will be killing you.